Good morning. My name is Marcus Doloff. I'm a program director at the MIT Startup Exchange. And I'm here to tell you about a tremendous benefit that you have as a corporate member of MIT. If you are an ILP corporate member, you have access to the MIT Startup Exchange. And what we do is we connect our corporate members with MIT startups. And so these are startups founded by MIT faculty, by researchers, by students, alums, or based on technology licensed from MIT. And between these two groups, we enable high-quality connections. Every year, we facilitate over 600 initial, high-quality, highly vetted meetings. And we can do this because we know our corporate members really well. We understand your strategic priorities, and we also know the startups really well. Every startup that joins the Startup Exchange has an in-person meeting with me or my colleague, Rebecca. And so this allows us to enable successful outcomes. So these are a number of recent success stories between MIT startups and our corporate members. There are many others. The startups that we work on are founded and based on trending technologies from MIT. So out of the 1,700 startups, they come from across all departments at MIT, and they employ a number of different technologies to solve many different use cases across many different industries. STEX25 is our accelerator program. So out of the 1,700, every year we select 25 that have technology that is broadly applicable across our member portfolio, meaning that it's relevant for many different use cases and many different companies. And these startups have also shown a high degree of initial market traction. And so here is a current list of these STEX25 companies. 3 are here today. So we have CLIMACELL, Interpretable AI, and Liquid Piston that are going to be presenting momentarily. These 7 startups are newly selected to STEX25. We actually haven't made this list public. So as a benefit of being here today, you get to see and hear about them first. So just quickly, I'm going to go through them. Osaro is providing imaging AI for robotics. Catalog, which will be on stage shortly, is using DNA to store digital data. ThruWave uses millimeter wave sensing technology to see through different materials, such as cardboard boxes. InkBit is doing multi-polymer 3D printing. Dust Identity uses nanotechnology to ensure and authenticate your supply chain as it's moving through different touch points. Companion MX is a mobile digital health platform, and Right Hand Robotics is developing grippers hardware and software for robotics. And so the question is, how can you engage with startups at MIT? There are 2 primary ways, but there might be others as well. I'm going to mention 2 of them. So do what you're doing today, attend our events. Every year we do 20+ events as an office across the world. I'm going to just highlight 2 key ones for us. We're going to be in Silicon Valley. It's looking like mid-May at this point. And then our flagship event is the Startup Ecosystem Conference on campus on May 30th. And in addition to these, we do some smaller scale sessions. For example, these scale-up innovation sessions, we call them. These are pre-scheduled one-on-one meetings. And you can also post an opportunity. This is a personalized and exhaustive search for startups that are related to your specific problems and your specific use cases. If you want to discuss this more, I'll be around during the break. Happy to answer any questions on that one. And so that brings us to where we are today. We have 9 startups here with us today, and I want to provide just a quick overview before they talk in more depth. Broadly speaking, we can put these startups into 2 categories. Intelligence startups. These are startups employing artificial intelligence to create new user experiences. So we have Affectiva, which has developed what they call human perception intelligence to provide a superior and new user experience in the car. CLIMACELL has weather intelligence that allows them to provide forecasts at a micro-local level while at a global scale, global reach. Then interpretable AI has obviously interpretable intelligence that provides transparency into your data insights. It helps you understand what the data is telling you. Figure 8 has developed movement intelligence for physical therapy improvements and worker safety, among other applications. The second group of startups I would call novel solution startups. These are the ones that are providing orders of magnitude improvements to existing solutions. So for example, Liquid Piston has a low-weight, high-efficiency engine for portable and auxiliary applications. Silver Thread is providing quality and health of your software code base. Priva Technologies has a nanotech chemotherapy platform for oral cancer. Catalog is using DNA for data storage with significant advances in density and lifespan of that data. And finally, Cambridge Crops is using edible coatings to prolong the shelf life of fresh foods. And so with that, we're going to go to the startup presentations. They're each going to be talking for 4 minutes. There's not going to be any Q&A. Instead, each one of them will have an exhibit table at the lunchtime exhibit. And we're going to go to the first speaker, Manija Goldberg, founder and CEO of Priva Technologies. Thank you.
Good morning, almost noontime. My name is Manija Goldberg. I'm the CEO and founder of Priva Technologies. Priva Technologies is a privately held company with roots at MIT's Langer Lab and MIT's Koch Cancer Institute. The vision of the company is we are much tougher on cancer and a lot easier on the patient. We work on treating chronic and acute diseases much more effectively while minimizing the side effects. This has been our mission from day one when we designed this platform technology. It's a nanotechnology system that initially we are using for head and neck cancer, more specifically oral cancer. We've developed a patch that's polymeric called PRV111 or chemothin wafer. It has cisplatin encapsulated in polymeric nanoparticles within a matrix of a polymer. We are currently in clinical trials. We had several patients that have shown very good successful results in shrinking or fully regressing their tumors. From an FDA point of view, we have received IND from FDA. We have received an orphan designation from those that know life sciences. It's a big deal to receive orphan designation because it allows you to commercialize much faster. And we are also working, since this is a platform, on several other diseases such as colorectal diseases, anal cancer, colorectal cancer, skin cancer, ocular diseases. A bit about the initial indication that we are working on. Oral cancer, unlike many other cancers, is on the rise. This is mainly to HPV. It's a devastating cancer because even if the cancer is removed and the cancer goes into remission, patients suffer from inability to eat, speak, chew, and a lot of them have to go through years of therapy before they can easily eat or drink. Many of them are on soft food diet for the rest of their lives. In the US, there are 50,000 new cases diagnosed every year. It's a much bigger problem around the world, about 640,000 cases. And we are hoping with the orphan designation, we can get our product to the market sooner so we can help these patients that don't have much of an option. This is a bit about the science. We've developed this unidirectional patch. As I said, it's a polymeric matrix with nanoparticles inside it. The system is designed to deeply permeate inside the tumor and build a barrier around the tumor, and is able to keep high concentrations of chemotherapy in the tumor region. This is an example of one of our patients. The patient had 3-centimeter tumor. In 1 week, we were able to fully regress the tumor, and the pathology report also supported the clinical observation. Right now, we are looking for partnerships. Thank you for being here and your attention. We are looking for licensing opportunities, co-development, commercialization. And please stop by, and I'll love to chat with you if you have more questions.
Good morning. I'm AJ McKinnon from Affectiva. Affectiva gets its name from affective computing, also known as emotion AI. We spun out of the MIT Media Lab in 2009. Our mission is to humanize technology through human perception AI. The problem that we're solving is that technology has high IQ, but no EQ. It has no emotional intelligence. So as machines are interacting with humans in a human way, it's really important for that technology, in order to be effective, to be persuasive and intuitive. It really needs to understand all things human. Our human perception AI detects not just human emotions, but also complex cognitive states, behaviors, activities, interactions, and objects that people use. Just like humans, our deep learning algorithms detect complex and nuanced human states from face and voice in real time. Built on deep learning, computer vision, speech science, and massive amounts of data, we enable automotive manufacturers and tier 1 suppliers to build the next version of an intelligent vehicle, to understand what's going on, the emotional state within that vehicle. We also have products released for market research, where 25% of the global Fortune 500 companies are utilizing our technology to understand consumer reactions to ads, videos, and TV programming. Building human perception AI is extremely difficult. Human faces have a wide variety of differentiation, as well as culture, which can really affect the way people interact. So this requires a multimodal approach to fuse both face and speech detection. Human states are not prototypical. In fact, they're very complex. And they also are temporal, which means they change over time. And as you can see here, conditions in the wild, meaning in real-world scenarios, are challenging, such as lighting in the car, or different camera angles, or sometimes people might be using a phone and their face gets a bit hidden. And typically, another challenge is that these models are cloud-based, which means they have a lot of space. But however, for the automotive industry, it needs to be compressed and offered on an embedded system in real time, but also with high accuracy. In order to continue to improve our product, we collect a massive amount of data and label that data using our internal labeling teams. And one of Affectiva's competitive advantages is that we have analyzed over 4 billion video frames and 7.5 million faces in 87 countries. For the automotive use cases, I mentioned that we did, in 2011, launch a product for market research. And then due to strong requests from the automotive industry, in March of 2018, we launched our automotive AI solution for 2 use cases. One, for drivers, to improve road safety by monitoring the driver's state, if they're drowsy or distracted. And 2, for passengers, to find out what their emotional reaction is within the vehicle. We have a lot of automotive interactions, including most recently at CES 2019, 2 weeks ago, with Aishin as a Tier 1 supplier utilized our SDK and also Kia Motors, an OEM, also utilized our SDK to show a next generation vehicle and how motion detection would work in there. Lastly, our request is to meet with automotive OEMs and Tier 1s who are building next generation vehicles to improve their driver monitoring systems, in-cabin experiences, and conversational interfaces. And I look forward to discussing with you at our demonstration. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Chad Malone. I'm the Chief Strategy and Growth Officer at Figure 8. And what we focus on is the symphony of movement, human interactions, both with their environment and movement themselves. When we move, it isn't just what you see me doing. It starts in the head, moves through the muscles, and to capture that is very hard. Today we use a lot of cameras. I'm sure a lot of you have Vicon systems or Dari systems, very expensive camera systems that look at the result of movement but not the origin. There are wearables today that give us an idea that we're moving. My heart rate's up, thus I must be moving. It may detect me walking, so I may be walking. But nothing really gets to the point of origin of that movement like we've done. As I've mentioned today, there are a lot of expensive technologies, and with some of our customers here in Japan, they may have a big camera system. They may also be using EMG to ascertain what the muscle is doing. But that has to be on the skin. These have to be in controlled environments to work. It's very hard to tell a professional athlete to come into a lab, put dots all over them for motion capture, have them do what they're supposed to do on the court. That's not their environment. So a system that can be used anywhere, at any time, that is as reliable as these gold standard technologies, but at a fraction of the cost, would really be the solution. Oh. Sorry. Can I go? There we go. There we go. Supposed to play. Let me try again. There we go. So quickly, and you're looking at the tape here, this is what we designed for athletes, but we have shirts and pants and sleeves. But very quickly, with our technology, you can see that we can capture that 3D motion. But more importantly, when he's squeezing his hand, we're recognizing how hard he is squeezing, what his muscles are doing at the same time. Where this has been very applicable is a way to have motion capture anywhere you go. The ability to pinpoint fatigue to the muscle groups. Our customers are using this to understand rider fatigue on motorcycles or in designing products. Ergonomic design around factories that have large production facilities. Is this table height better, or is this table height better for our workers to reduce injury and increase the lifespan of the workers? We focus a lot as well in athletic performance to prevent injury, and also in the optimal movements in these areas. Again, we focused in these three market areas. We do have a burgeoning presence in Japan, and what we're really looking for are manufacturers that are looking to design better form factors for humans, or in their factories where you have a lot of workers doing repetitive motions, what are the motions that are hurting these folks? How can I design better for the human? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Skolnick, co-founder and CEO of Liquid Piston, and it's a pleasure to be here to tell you a little bit about our company, which is developing a new kind of rotary combustion engine. So power and energy are fundamentally limiting aspects of today's vehicles. You look at the available power solutions, we have gasoline engines and turbine engines, which are inefficient. We have diesel engines, which are big and heavy. We have electrical power, but today's batteries are also really big and heavy. The result of this is decreases in range, capability, increased cost, and environmental impact. Our solution to this problem starts with physics. It starts with a new optimized thermodynamic cycle for an engine. When we rethink the physics, we have to rethink the entire engine as we know it. And that's shown on the right with a new kind of rotary engine architecture that we call the X engine. The result is about 30% more efficient than a diesel engine. It's quiet, about 5 to 10 times smaller and lighter than a diesel engine today, and with practically no vibration. Some of you might be familiar with the old Wankel rotary engine, such as the one developed by Mazda. That engine was nice for its simplicity, its high power to weight, but it always had problems with sealing, cooling, lubrication, emissions, durability, efficiency, kind of everything we actually care about the engine doing. With our approach, with the new engine architecture, we solve all of these problems. And this technology can help enable vehicle electrification. It's a bit funny to start an engine company to help vehicle electrification, but that's what we're trying to do. So consider an electric car that would require a large, heavy battery that's slow to charge. We can remove 80 or 90% of that battery and replace it with a compact, efficient generator right on board. You still get all the advantages of the overall electrical propulsion. Currently, we have 2 engine projects underway. The first is working with the US Army on a multi-fuel 2-kilowatt power supply for the M777 howitzer. The second program is a 30-kilowatt diesel engine developed for DARPA. That 30-kilowatt engine is the perfect size for range extending a car. There are many other applications, including primary propulsion for vehicles, drones, and also a hybrid power for vehicles, mobile electric power, and also auxiliary power, and especially for things that fly, for areas where weight is very important. So we're here looking for partnerships. We are a technology developer, and we're looking to work with OEMs that are interested in new engine technologies, and also in working with engine companies on a contract or licensing basis. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Oz Locker, and I'm here today with CLIMACELL. I'm going to talk to you about micro-weather. So before we dive in, the vision of the company is mapping all the weather data in the world. We call it micro-weather with global coverage. I'll explain exactly what I mean when I say micro-weather and how we are doing that with unique technologies. So before we dive in, a little bit of overview about CLIMACELL. We are 3.5 years old, Boston-based. We recently closed our B round for another $50 million, overall $70 million in funding. We have 8 employees across 2 offices, Boston and Tel Aviv, and our scientific leadership team is from MIT and Harvard. You can see on the right-hand side a little bit about a little of our investors and customers. I want to point out JetBlue and Delta from aviation. This was the background of the founders. This is how we started, but by now we are catering to more than 7 industries, which I'll walk through, anywhere from Ford, mobility, outdoor events, sports teams, on-demand economy, as we call it. These can be groups like Bird and VIA, and energy, National Grid. So these are the different verticals. I'm not going to go one by one, but basically anyone that is sensitive to weather, and specifically micro-weather, which means 500-meter resolution and forecast of minute by minute, is a potential customer of ours, and we have various use cases we're solving in each one of those verticals. This is the most important slide because it explains exactly what is it that we solve and what we're doing different. So the entire weather industry is based on the same sensors. These sensors are usually government infrastructure. These are either satellites, weather stations, or radars. Each one of those sensors has a weakness, either in accuracy or coverage, and overall, they don't capture what's happening on the ground level. And this is a gap. And this is a gap that we solve using software only, and I'll explain how we're doing that with unique technologies. So one of our technologies is called the wireless networks. The way that it works is we reverse engineer microwaves in wireless networks to understand the attenuation in those. And from that attenuation, we learn about the precipitation type and intensity in that space. What that gives us is not only granularity, but more importantly, is where that data is captured, and that is on the ground level, where things actually happen, where it matters to most of the businesses. This is an example of our technology. So you can see two different pictures. On the left side, you see traditional sources in a 200-kilometer square. On the right side, it's an example after we deployed our software on a wireless network. You can see the density that we can achieve when it comes to weather. So imagine you have a point of interest anywhere around these weather sensors. Now, no longer it means that you need to have actually hardware deployed there. With our technology, you are getting a 500-meter resolution and soon to be global. The way that we do it is we start on the left-hand side by taking all of the traditional sources, and then on top of that, we are fusing our new and unique data sets to create one fused layer, which is the most accurate one. We have a portfolio of products, starting from dashboards to smart devices and so on, and APIs. And just to recap, and our ask is basically if you're any one of these industries and you have a challenge or you think there's a potential here when it comes to granular weather, please come talk to me, and we'll be happy to explore. We are operational in Japan, officially operational in Japan from last week. So looking for partners and customers. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jack Dunn, and I'm with Interpretable AI. And what we do is we turn your data into trusted action. We're an MIT spin-off company out of Professor Dimitri Bertsimus's lab at the Sloan School of Management. He's been a professor there for 30 years and has had many successful companies in the past. So it's undeniable that artificial intelligence is having a transformational impact on the business world. But what we're seeing currently of AI being set up for automation and to replace humans is not the end game. What we see the future is AI and humans working together to solve some of the world's toughest problems, like self-driving cars, like drug discovery. But in order to do that, we need some way for the humans and AI to work together, understand and trust each other's thinking. And many companies in the world are coming to realize these things. In the banking space, we have Bank of America saying it's crucial they understand how a decision is made so that they can stand behind it and say that they're not unfairly biased against anybody. A recent survey from IBM said that 2/3 of businesses that are interested in pursuing AI are reluctant, with a lack of explainability being the primary roadblock. And in the medical space, the FDA is currently trying to figure out how artificial intelligence will be incorporated into its regulation process. And they've said that they're not comfortable approving any AI-based technologies without a level of confidence that it's going to protect and improve the outcomes for patients. So collectively, what we see is that for artificial intelligence to thrive, it really needs to explain itself so that humans can work together with AI and trust and understand what it's saying. If that doesn't happen, all of these AI systems will just break down. So at Interpretable AI, we deliver interpretable solutions to your toughest problems. We have a suite of domain-agnostic proprietary software modules that have each been developed based on years of artificial intelligence research at MIT. They span the full spectrum of the analytics space, from data cleaning to data prediction, classification and regression, all the way through to prescriptive decision-making. So going straight from your data to optimal decision-making. I don't have time to talk about the details of each of these technologies, but each of them is backed by a PhD thesis in its own right, and over lunch I'd be happy to talk more about any of the specific details. What we do, though, is that we use these as building blocks to develop end-to-end solutions that are fully transparent and interpretable so that anybody at the business, from the executive down to the end user, can figure out and understand exactly what's going on in these AI systems. We have a proven track record of using this interpretability to directly deliver business value. For a cybersecurity firm, we helped them understand the latest threat landscape as it evolved. For our global retail partners, we help them understand their consumer preferences and figure out what products are the best to place in which of their stores. In the highly regulated banking and insurance spaces, we can provide credit and risk scores that are fully transparent and interpretable where nobody else can, and these current methods like deep learning that are black boxes are not fit to be used for these problems. We've also worked with Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, where we have a surgical risk estimator that's being used by their top surgeons on a daily basis to help understand risks prior to a surgery. Our ask, as we develop out our technologies and find business use cases for them, is a number of partners that we can work with to really attack your toughest problems and develop trusted solutions that everybody can understand. Our current clients are in a range of industries, primarily banking, insurance, and retail, as well as healthcare, but we're happy to attack any domain because our technologies are completely agnostic. So please come and talk to us if you're interested in learning more. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Adam Behrens, CEO and co-founder of Cambridge Crops. We're developing natural solutions for extending shelf life. I'm a former postdoc at the MIT Langer Lab as well. At Cambridge Crops, we're fighting the food waste problem. Today, 1/3 of the food in the world is wasted, representing $1.2 trillion in economic losses. We're looking to recapture some of that lost value through extending shelf life. And what we're using to do it is an edible, water-based, and natural coating based off of silk. The same silk that's in a tie, but a much lower grade version of it. We process it in such a way that it can be deposited on the surface of any food item, and it drastically extends shelf life through regulating oxygen transport, water vapor loss, and slowing down bacterial growth. It's also able to stabilize other active ingredients in the coating itself. So we could use that to further push out shelf life extension by using something like an antioxidant, or adding nutrient content or other kind of functional additives to the coating. What this ultimately results in is drastic increases in shelf life extension for a wide variety of perishable foods. Pictured here are avocados at day 10 at the retail level. Avocados usually ripen by day 3. We're not only double or tripling the shelf life, we're also increasing the optimal window of edibility. So it's remaining ripe for a longer period of time, not only delaying spoilage. The same is true for leafy greens and things like spinach and other cut lettuces. Here, we're at 14 days post-retail purchase. We're able to maintain texture, color, and really not modify or impact taste, smell, or any other kind of aesthetic negative effect at all on any of these food items. The material creates a powerful barrier effect. There's other coating technologies in the world that focus on whole produce, but the combination of slowing down oxygen transport while retarding bacteria growth allows us to be applicable on things like beef, fish, and chicken as well. So here we're able to double the shelf life of a fresh beef product, both in terms of color retention, but more importantly in terms of bacterial growth. The technology is so powerful because it addresses most, if not all, decay mechanisms. Everything in the process is end-to-end water-based, including the extraction and deposition, which allows us to easily integrate into existing wash processes. So any food item that's being washed today, we can add a powder to the existing spray step or dip wash without any other impact to the supply line. The material is actually extremely low cost. We don't care about fiber quality because we're not a textile company. We only care about the molecular structure, which means we can use the lowest grade silk as our raw material input. The technology is also patent protected by a suite of awarded patents and patent applications circumventing everything from the deposition to the extraction steps. Our value propositions are pretty broad depending where you're operating in the industry. For large growers, we can improve distribution. For grower shippers, we can enable packaging solutions that are either different or improve performance. Such as enabling something that's compostable that does not have the barrier properties to extend your ready-made salad. At the retail level, we can drastically reduce waste, and we personally really care about extending food availability and accessibility in multiple different geographies. On the distribution front, we're currently working with a blueberry exporter out of Chile. Today, they almost export all their blueberries to the United States and Europe. And through only a 30% shelf life increase, which we're doing much better than, they're able to expand drastically into the Asian geographies, which represent very high value markets for them. We're exploring co-development opportunities, both in the pre and post-harvest space, as well as exploring partners to help with our extraction process optimization and scale up of our manufacturing. Thank you very much, and looking forward to talking to you at the booths during the lunch break. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Catalog is a 7-person team building a new generation medium for data storage. Oh, sorry. So why do we need a new medium for data storage? By 2025, we're projected to generate about 160 zettabytes of information. That's about 10 times the number of bytes as there are stars in the observable universe. So we won't have to store all of that data, but about 40% of it is estimated to be important for enterprise operations. Now the problem is, with all of the hard drives and flash drives, magnetic tape put together, we'll only have the ability to store about 12.5% of it. So that means we'll have more useful data than we'll have the ability to store. And so we focus on using DNA to store digital information. Why DNA? It's the medium that nature has chosen to store its most precious data. And because of that, over billions of years of evolution, its built-in characteristics are ideal for data storage. So for one, you have incredible redundancy, the ability to replicate information using enzymes, going from 1 copy to 1 billion copies within a matter of hours, and for nearly zero the cost. The information density is at 200 petabytes per gram, or about 1 million times higher than solid-state drives right now. And the stability is incredible. You store information in DNA, it'll last for thousands of years. So there's been incredible interest in using this as a storage medium for many decades, long before Catalog ever got started. So in 2016, Microsoft published on their work that stored about 200 megabytes of data into DNA, and that was the record for the most amount of information stored in DNA. But it came at a cost of about $800,000. So that's clearly not at a price point where it's feasible to store massive amounts of data. And so the synthesis cost of DNA has been the bottleneck. So our company, Catalog, has developed a totally new mechanism of storing information using DNA molecules that takes much less synthesis, and the synthesis price of DNA can stay where they are for our solution to be economically feasible. And so I won't go into detail about the platform itself, but I'm happy to answer questions during lunch. And so if you compare our method to the traditional synthesis methods, it's like going from copying down information using a pen and paper to now using typefaces and moving that around and using a printing press to copy the information. So you can see why it might be faster and cheaper. But even with our method, we can't cheat entropy. Even with our method, we still have to generate about 500 billion DNA constructs per day if we want to store a terabit of information per day. And that's our goal for this year. So to solve that, we've partnered with a contract engineering firm called Cambridge Consultants in Cambridge, UK, and we're building a purpose-built machine that will be able to handle that much throughput. And it's slated to be completed by April this year. And with that, we were able to get a lot of support from a lot of major investors. And this is a solution that will improve DNA-based storage by 1 million-fold in terms of the price and about 100,000 times in terms of the speed. And that's for this year, with further milestones for improving this by another 1,000x in the next 2 years. So for this meeting, we're asking for pilot customers, pilot partners, to give us your data, and we'll put it into our DNA for you and retrieve portions of it as you request it. So that's when our machine is completed in April. That I'll set down. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Dan Sturdivant. I am the CEO of SilverThread, and I am the only thing between you and your lunch, so I will try to make this entertaining and short. SilverThread is based on 15 years of research out of Harvard and MIT, of a collaboration between people who look at finance and people who look at software architecture, engineers and business people. What we've come up with is a way of measuring software systems. Software has only been around for a short period of time. We as human beings have not learned how to do it well yet. And therefore, many of the software systems that have been created are tangled up like this. Software complexity obviously leads to waste. In organizations that we've worked with, we've found that probably 50% of their resources being spent on software development are being wasted due to the inability to make good decisions about the software development lifecycle. For example, in some systems that we have assessed that were healthy architectures, a developer was capable of producing 23 or 24 features in a single year. The blue part of the graph is the amount of time they spent implementing features, and the red part of the graph is the amount of time they spent fixing bugs. In complex or tangled code bases that we have measured, however, when we've studied it, those same developers were only able to produce 3 or 4 features in the same period of time, and a much larger percentage of their time was spent fixing bugs. So clearly, complexity or tangles in a code base, from an architectural standpoint, have tremendous costs. We at SilverThread have come up with ways of using graph theoretic analysis to assess the health of software code bases. We have done statistical analysis linking software quality, where is it in good shape versus where is it tangled, to business outcomes, productivity, defect density, ability to ship on time, and so on. We have also developed ROI-based models to help people make decisions about what you should do across your portfolio of software systems or within your software system. Is it in a state where it's in good shape? Is it in a state, maybe in whole or part, where some of it should be improved or refactored to increase its modularity or its hierarchy or reinforce other good architectural principles within it? Or is it so far gone that you should just throw it out and start over again? If you can make better decisions about those 3 options across a large software development portfolio, you can save a lot of money. And the reason actually stems from, I heard a talk earlier today about the value of better information. If you have better information about the state of your software portfolio, you can make better decisions about what to do with it at any point in its life cycle. And if it's in a state where you can fix it, we also have tools to help people fix it. We can help people move it from an unhealthy state to an unhealthy state, or to a healthy state, if that is economically warranted. This is a portfolio that we looked at with the United States Air Force. We've looked at close to 100 systems now. And based on that analysis, we were working for an organization that had a $25 billion software portfolio. The decisions they were able to make based on that information allowed them to save lots of money and avoid lots of pain. For instance, in System X on top, the decision was made that it had challenges, but it was repairable. Over a 3-month period, they used our tools to improve the software architecture, and they were able to completely eliminate the tangles that we were talking about. They have told us that that project has already paid for itself in terms of increased productivity and lower defect density. However, in System Y, when we measured it, we found that it was so complex and so entangled that it would be much cheaper to rewrite that system than to attempt to refactor it. So in that case, the US government spent $2 billion to recapitalize that program because they decided that would be the best financial and risk option for them in that case. SilverThread can help software companies with large portfolios of software systems or large complex systems. Also companies that contract out for software development if you want to understand the quality of the systems that are being provided by your vendors, or evaluate systems to see if you want to adopt them for use as critical infrastructure or not. We can help people with portfolio assessment. We can help people fix systems. And right now, more and more, we're doing a lot of work to help people move legacy systems to the cloud, because the process of untangling them is the same thing you would go through if you refactored it, so you could create microservices that could be deployed and scaled. So I would be happy to speak to you during lunch. Thank you for your time.